Hey, it's Joanna Hunter here from another episode of the Into the LightWeb podcast, and we've got questions for Joanna and Skylar. I'm Joanna. How are you? I thought I'd jump in here with a really juicy question, and I'm quite excited about this question because I think everyone has kind of maybe gone through this or felt this at some time. So my question is today from Veronica. And she says, I'm not passionate about anything strongly enough to follow through. I don't know what my contribution for this earth is supposed to be. And does everyone have a mission and a vision? And how can I find mine? Juicy stuff. Hey, and a very warm welcome to the Into the LightWeb podcast with me, your hostess, Joanna Hunter, metaphysical teacher, spiritual life and business coach, published author, and the high priestess of the LightWeb, a spiritual technology that will change your life. This is the place to be to talk everything under the LightWeb, from consciousness, relationships, to money, to spiritual business, and everything in between. Okay. I love this question because I spent a long time trying to find my purpose in life. And I come across people all the time. When I was working as a life coach and people were coming to me for life coaching, a lot of people were trying to find their purpose. And according to Skylar, my spirit team, they really call like finding this life purpose thing a bit of a cosmic joke. And it's not there to make fun of you in any way, shape, or form, but it is a bit of a cosmic joke in the fact that we're all running around a little bit like headless chickens trying to find this purpose, this mythical mission, the calling, whatever we want to call it, we all have it. And when Skylar told me this, they also told me that every single human being on the planet has the same life purpose. The very same life purpose. And the first time I heard this, I was like, there's just never going to be a reality. There's just never going to be like a timeline where I would believe that like you're telling me like everyone has the same life purpose. That's it. And I just couldn't wrap my head around how that could be. Then Skylar elaborated and said, everybody's life purpose is simply just to be themselves. That's it. And I thought, oh, well, isn't that interesting? Because here I was trying to find my purpose outside of myself, but actually it makes perfect sense that your purpose would be yourself. Just be yourself. So the way that Skylar teaches is that we are all extensions of source energy, that every single human being that you ever meet and ever will meet, they're all extensions of source energy. And how source energy shows up in that human being is completely and utterly unique to that human being. Your likes, your dislikes, your aspirations, your desires, everything that makes you is completely unique to you. Sure, you might desire things that other people desire. Sure, you might have likes that other people have, but in the combination, in the way that they all show up inside you, it's completely and utterly unique. And therefore, you are a unique expression of source energy. And that is your purpose. Your purpose is to be that unique expression of source energy. It's a bit like that Oscar Wilde quote, be yourself because everybody else is taken. And, in a way, it's the perfect quote for this, like, be yourself. That's your only mission. Like, that's your only mission. And for us, because we are subjected to so much conditioning in society, there's just so much conditioning, being ourselves has become a bit of a feat. Because we are encouraged to conform. We are encouraged to fit in. even just from, if we look at just from very young age, like schooling, for instance, if you were in a school that had a school uniform, they wanted all the kids to kind of look the same, and all of these things. They wanted you to conform in those classrooms, to do it a certain way. And of course, we start to get this conditioning to believe that individuality is not something to be fully praised. It's something to be almost expunged. And I think this is where the confusion in society comes from, of when we begin to try and find our sole purpose. Because once we've gone through all of that conditioning and we come out the other end and we're now fully grown adult humans, then what happens is that we're like, now we're told, like, you're meant to have a purpose. You're like, yes, I'm meant to have a purpose. And something inside of you says that that kind of feels quite right. So we begin to search for the purpose, never ever thinking that the purpose may be just to be ourselves, to allow everything that makes you to shine through and to shine forward. So, I mean, I remember in my early days in business, for instance, I opened a designer clothing shop, and I've always loved fashion, and I've always liked clothes and makeup and all of these things. That's definitely a facet of my personality. But I'd always had this massive spiritual side, and that business didn't honor that side of me, the spiritual side of me. So I I got to be creative within my shops that I had. And then later on I added a cafe and a shoe shop and things. But those businesses didn't really honor like the fullness of who I was, like the spiritual part of me was kind of all but forgotten inside those businesses. They weren't honored at all. It was just, more my creative side and more my business side that I really love, and more, my love of fashion and clothing and makeup and things were honored within those businesses. But, in the business that I have now, it's a business that really, really like honors all of the facets, like all of my loves, all of the things that I do. And I think for this question, Veronica, what I would really say is, like, really begin to dig in to what is it that you like? What is it that you love? And what happens is you're going to probably come up against the first lot of conditioning, which is like, I won't be able to make money doing that. I won't be able to make money doing that. And if you're artistic, maybe you'll have additional conditioning, like everyone knows that artists don't really make money. So there's all these kind of things, right? Like that we're going to butt up against, but be true to yourself above all other things. Do not look for your purpose outside of yourself. Look inside of yourself and say, what are the things that I love? Because your purpose is to literally share that with the world. Because in sharing that with the world, what happens is you become a unique expression of Source. And Source saw fit to, first of all, make you, second of all, unleash you on the planet. So here's the thing, Source wanted you here, right? Like, you're wanted and you're needed here. And that expression that is unique to you, the lens by which the light of Source shines through you, is totally and utterly unique. And that's needed. One of the things I tell my spiritual entrepreneurs when I'm coaching them on messaging and putting themselves out there and putting themselves out there in business, one of the things that I talk about to them is that your message might be the same as other coaches. Your message might be the same as other people out there. But here's the thing, your message will be unique to you. Like, the way that you say it will be all yours. And there is someone out there who's maybe heard that message 50 times from 50 other coaches, and none of those times it landed. But that message, when spoken out of your mouth and your lips, somehow lands that one time. The 50 other times, the 50 other coaches that were really great coaches, they knew what they were doing and all the things, and yet that one individual needed to hear that message from you. It was the way that you said it. It was the way that you delivered it. That's unique to you. This is one of the things that's really important of understanding, that you are a unique expression of Source, and therefore Source has deemed you already worthy, already enough for being here. And therefore, the way that you express yourself, the way that you are, is needed in this world. And there is someone out there that just needs to hear it from you. They can't hear it from anyone else. They hear it from other people. They just doesn't land for them, but it will land when they hear it from you. So it's first and foremost, it's about what I call Get Selfish. So I wrote a book called Get Selfish, The Way Is Through. And in my book, Get Selfish, The Way Is Through, is about kind of finding your pathway home to yourself. And finding that pathway home to yourself is so important for learning how to begin to express yourself fully, wholly, completely, and truly, where you are being true to yourself, that you're not falling into what Skylar calls the greatest prison of all time, which is the fear of what other people think. That is what Skylar calls the greatest prison of all time, the fear of what other people think. And so many of us are caught and trapped in that fear. We're looking for purposes that other people understand. We're looking for purposes outside of ourselves. We're looking for big visions and missions that we can tell other people of. But really, at the end of the day, it just comes down to you. And it is that principle of get selfish. And getting selfish is that understanding that you are an expression of Source, and therefore the energy as it appears in you is completely unique to you and therefore needed in this world. So the first place to discover your vision, mission, or purpose, or your internal calling, is simply to allow yourself to be yourself. And the way that your desires show up inside of you, the way that things light you up and maybe equally don't light you up, the way that that appears inside you is so unique to you. And that's the first rung. But what a lot of people are doing is they try to get to the point of what I call the service point. So they're like, right, this is my mission now, and I'm going to go and serve with this mission. The problem is that they're not ready for the mission, and they're not ready to get out serving because they haven't really checked in with themselves fully yet of what is it that they really love, what is it that they really like. And so the first stage of Get Selfish is the process is really learning yourself. Like, what do you like? What do you love? And this is one of the things that you indicated in your question to us, is that you run out of steam, you lose momentum, you lose, it's exciting in the beginning and then it's like, wah, wah, wah. And I understand that, and I can feel that. I'm a multi-passionate person, and you have no idea how long I spent fighting being a multi-passionate person. Every time I would get so excited about a brand new project, I would start my brand new project. I'd be so excited. And then the energy would begin to dwindle. And then as the energy began to dwindle, I'd get bored. I wouldn't want to do it anymore. And then I would ditch it. And then I would start an internal cycle of beating myself up. I would say things to myself like, if I just had my shit together, if I just had my shit together, if I just had my shit together, then I would be able to be successful. Or then I fill in your blank of your favorite story that you could use to beat yourself up with. I told them all. When I began to really love and accept myself, when I began to really walk this path of Get Selfish, which is a path of self-love, I began to see that I am a person that's meant to start a lot of projects. But if I was meant to finish them all, I would have the desire to finish them all. But a good 50% of the time, I do not have the desire to finish them all, which meant I am meant to start things and not always finish them. The society says if you start something, you better finish it. But here's the thing. There's many times where I've gone down the rabbit hole of a project, or I've gone down the rabbit hole of something. I've learned as much as I needed to learn. And if I have been able to let go of that project when the energy starts dwindling and I'm not that interested and fascinated by it anymore, those lessons that I learned in that first half of the project always show up later, always. And I'll be able to apply them and use them for something else. But before, I used to beat myself up that I didn't finish it. Now I'm totally okay if I don't finish something. Now I'm completely good with that. I've also worked on learning to finish things as well, like really sitting with my desires and go, do I desire to really, really finish this project? And if the answer is yes, then I have learned to discipline myself to finishing something. But equally, I now, because I know that I am capable of finishing things, and I've changed that mindset. Now I know that if I get to something and I get that nod inside of me to say, we're done here, then I'm okay to move on. And I know that starting that project was about the learning. It wasn't really about the finishing. Many people think that when they start a project, it's all about the finishing. It's like when they get to that finish line, then it will have been worth it. You know what? Sometimes starting a project and not finishing it is totally worth it, because guess what? The learning in the starting, in the doing, in the creating, until you got to that point where you were like, I'm done here now. That was all good information. It was all good learning for you. So, as Skylar says, everybody has the same soul purpose, and that soul purpose is to completely and utterly just shine as yourself. Just be yourself. And if you're struggling with being yourself and you're struggling against the conditioning that the majority of us received, then what I suggest is maybe picking up a copy of my Get Selfish, The Way Is Through book, going on that Get Selfish journey yourself, of really getting yourself, really learning who you are, what you like and what you don't like. And then you'll find that it'll be much easier to tap into your purpose. It'll be much easier to tap into your loves and know that what you love and what you desire in this life will have 100% to do with your kind of bigger purpose, in which way that you can show up and serve other people. But your only purpose has only ever been just to be yourself. And that's something we can all do. It's not something that we have to break a sweat, bend ourselves into a pretzel for. It's just something that we can all do. I hope this answers your question, Veronica. And if you guys are listening to this podcast and wonder how myself and my spirit team, Skylar, can answer your question, all you need to do is find the link below this podcast, or a link near this podcast, where you can ask Joanna and Skylar your spiritual question. I look forward to hearing your questions, and I'll speak to you soon.